there's a way to make an entrance.
This is my destiny.
It was now a conspiracy of witches.
Download Veely today.
Welcome to Room Service. I'm Sarah Richardson. What makes a bedroom fit for a princess? We'll turn the room above the garage into a vision of sky blue delights by meeting an artist whose passion is fashion, treating old tables to new polish, and we'll even create every girl's fantasy, a canopy. This room is a dream come true. It's a vision in blue, and it's only on Room Service. Kids are great clients, and you know how much I love to decorate kids' bedrooms. Well, in this case, our client is the youngest of 4 and has 3 older brothers. Is there anything that you like about your room now?
No.
One of the things that strikes me first is that we only have 1 twin bed in the room. We definitely have room to introduce a second twin bed or even a double bed. Now, both of these offer options in case there's a sleepover or extra guests staying in the house, and that just will help to make better use of this space. We'll need to reconfigure a couple of the elements in order to do that. I think we definitely want to keep the beds on this back wall in behind me, because that way you walk in and you see the bed from the door. I always think it's nice to place the bed at the angle where you see it when you first walk in, because once it's all dressed up, it looks beautiful. Our client has requested canopy beds. Now, I'm not sure that we need to actually go out and get the canopy beds, but maybe what we can do is devise a solution that would allow us to have a canopy effect without purchasing the canopy bed. So we'll have to stay tuned and see what I can come up with for that. Another thing we need to look at in this bedroom is workspace. There is no desk in the room right now, so she tends to work at the kitchen table, but it would be great to have a space, an individual workspace, and also a place to do arts and crafts projects. The carpet has been here for about 15 or 20 years, and it's starting to look a little bit tired. So we'll look at replacing that with something in a more neutral color scheme that ties in with the carpet throughout the rest of the house. We'll also need to consider a window treatment here that will offer both privacy but allow in some of the natural west light that comes in through this window. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
As far as the color palette goes in here, we're thinking blues. Soft shades of periwinkle mixed with light creams and white. It's gonna be fresh, it's gonna be a timeless scheme that will allow our young client to grow up and love this for many years to come. Who says that little girls' rooms should be dressed just in pink? We think pretty and feminine can be dressed in shades of blue. Whether the inspiration stems from the garden or flows from a milliner's bobbin, it's a classic pairing of blue and white. As bright and cheery as a picnic on a summer's day, and as crisp and cool as a starched cotton shirt. When it comes to color, we're in love with true blue. Okay, let's be honest, my job is not all about glamour. The room that I'm working on is going to be gorgeous when it's finished, but right now I am out at an industrial plaza, and this is about me sharing one of my secrets with you. Now, the furniture that was in the room, some of the pieces, belonged to our client's grandparents, and it was an entire bedroom suite. This is the only piece that we're going to be keeping. We're going to be using it because of sort of sentimental reasons, and it's a cute little side table. So we'll be incorporating this into the scheme. We've made some other major changes, so the other pieces of furniture aren't going to work. But I have a bit of a problem with this, and that is that right now it has this kind of gold detailing on it. The lacquer's gone yellow, and over the years, the finish has all chipped. So it's time to give this piece a new life, and this is where I've got to come to make it happen. Hi, Noel. I brought you a treasure.
Oh, it's nice.
What do you think?
Nice.
Okay, now can you fix this for me, do you think?
Yeah, it's okay, no.
This is for a little girl's room. And so I want it to be a bit more creamy white and maybe have a bit of antiquing here. So what's the process that you have to go through? Can you just sand this down?
No,
I have to remove all the paint.
Okay.
Reach the wood.
Yep.
And that I use it special paint for that.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna sand it and clean every paint. And then I'm gonna start it from the beginning. How it's coming, like I'm gonna put the primer and then the color you want it.
Okay. Is it brushed on or is it sprayed on?
No spray, I'm gonna use spray, hair spray, I do it every time.
Okay. And does that give it a better, more long-lasting finish?
Yeah.
And why is that?
By brushing, maybe you don't use it the same,
The same thickness everywhere?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe some places not very well, or maybe you don't strip it there. You're gonna put it on the top. That's
Right.
very problem. That's gonna chip after.
Okay.
But by spray is more quality take and times. I give it time to dry.
Right.
Every step.
Right.
That's take more long to.
Well, I can see you've got lots of stuff in progress
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And then can we do a little bit of antiquing on it as well?
Yeah, and any kind of antique, like on top of that creamy.
Right.
Like walnut or something's gold or anything.
Okay, I think we're done with gold. No
Yeah,
gold.
no.
And can we change the hardware?
Yeah, it's okay, easy to change it.
And what will you do? Do you have to fill the holes or?
Yeah, if it's the same design, I can use the same hole.
Okay.
If it's one hole, I gonna fill it those first
Okay.
and then.
But you'll need to know that first.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
better.
And what if we wanted to take it back to the natural wood, like something like this? Could that be done as well?
Yeah. When I gonna strip it,
Yeah.
it's gonna be the wood, and then any kind of
Anything.
finishing. Yeah, I can do it.
anything.
Yeah.
Can you make it look beautiful?
Yeah, it's more.
Thanks, Noel. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Coming up on room service, the work has begun in our bedroom, and we'll find some fashion for the walls. We're back, and our young client's bedroom has become a vision in blue. We've made some big changes here so far, starting out with the carpet. Now, you'll remember that before it was sort of a dark purpley blue with a trellis pattern on it. Now we've replaced it with a honey-toned wool sisal, and this is the same carpet that's used throughout the rest of the house, and it helps to keep things consistent. But you'll also notice it really makes it much brighter. We've painted the walls, which is another dramatic difference. As you can see, we've gone with a light lilac periwinkle shade, and we've used it just in the center of all the panels throughout the room. When you're working with a room that has this much trim on it, sometimes it's nice to use this type of effect because each panel is set off and it really gives it a fresh look. Now, you may remember I said before there was going to be 2 twin beds, and you'll notice this is not a twin bed. This turns out to be a queen bed because our client decided that instead of 2 beds, she'd prefer 1 big bed. So that's what we've gone with. We've got it centered here in the middle of the room. My side table has been dropped off to be refinished and fixed up and painted. So here's a headboard. This is something I've made. It is an upholstered headboard, and this is actually a slipcover. What I did was I had the base of the headboard upholstered in a more neutral tone fabric. And the advantage here is this gives some more longevity to the piece. If Orly grows up and decides that she doesn't like this blue concept anymore, she can have a second look altogether. We've gone with a collection of about 4 different fabrics in here. We have the large sort of plaid that's used in the center of the headboard. Then we have a small gingham check that's used as the band, and then we have a ticking striped piping, and we also have this beautiful floral pattern which has a herringbone weave in it. We've used a combination of these fabrics throughout the room. We have found this bench, which I'm also getting slip covered, and I'll use that same palette all over again. And over there I have a canopy that is just waiting to be hung. Finding the exact perfect color to dress the bed can sometimes be a challenge, especially when it's a kid's bedroom. They often have a color in mind that they want to see used throughout the room. But what happens in a few years' time when they change their mind and want to see a different concept altogether? Well, here's an idea. If you start by using sheets as the fitted sheet, the flat sheet, and the duvet cover, all in solid white or cream, it gives you much more flexibility. You can incorporate the color that they choose just as the accents. You can even go so far far as to take a regular white pillow and then use a remnant piece of fabric to create a decorative band across the bottom. This way, if they change their mind about the color scheme in a few years' time, it won't break the bank to change it all. The inspiration for creation stems from many sources. For artist Kate Hyde, her passion is clothing, and more specifically, women's dresses. Whether in pastels, prints, or ceramics, her art brings life to these otherwise inanimate objects.
As a child, I liked all those girly things. I liked clothes and I liked dolls, but it was always the narrative side of it and always sort of how things were made. And from a very young age, I was taken to the Victoria and Albert Museum, and that was I think that was the beginning, was seeing there's a fantastic costume collection. My mother's sister, in the 50s, when nobody wanted to look for antiques, she was down the Portobello Road in London, looking at antiques and buying old clothes, and everyone thought she was really eccentric. But those things have been around in my life, and you know, just being able to touch those things, it sets your imagination going.
Kate originally trained as a textile designer and worked as a textile buyer for years, always working closely with fabrics and designing clothes. Later, Kate returned to school to do a master's in ceramics and ended up teaching children in England. It was here that she rediscovered the art of lino drawings, a simple technique made beautiful by her incredible talent and her passion for the subject matter.
I do a whole lot of things. I do some big drawings. Sometimes, you know, I go and sit with my sketchbook just quietly working things out, and I can't always plan what I'm going to get, and I don't always plan the prints or whatever I'm going to make before. Sometimes it's just what happens. I'll start to draw an idea in and then I'll work out the idea as I'm doing it. The thing that's special about line is you can have those blocks and very strong areas and then make some areas just sort of slightly more hazy, but it's different from drawing because you could never get that sort of line from drawing, and also because of the accidents that happen when you're making the lino, and you think, oh, and then you stand back and you think, oh, well, you know, I'll change this little bit and I'll change that. So, yeah, the character of the material starts to dictate what you're doing sometimes as well. You know, it sort of has a mind of its own. Once you've cut, you can't go back, whereas you can go back with the drawing and you can take areas out.
Kate hopes that her work will inspire the imaginations of those who own it.
For a young person, I'd like them just to have it on the wall and just to be thinking about it. I mean, I found that with pictures when I was young. You would maybe not notice it for a while, then you start to think about, oh, you know, first of all, you might think, oh, I like that dress, it's quite fun. And then you start thinking, well, what's that about? And the child may be creating their own story around it, and they bring something of themselves to it because they're going to bring their life experience and possibly associations with clothes in their lives, so that, yeah, they make up their own narrative about it.
Next on Room Service, we'll create a canopy treatment for our princess's suite. My big challenge in this room was to create a canopy effect. Now, we could have gone out and bought a canopy bed. However, I find that canopies are often quite pricey, and it's not necessarily something that a young girl will want to have around for a long time. So we've decided to come up with another solution, and that is how to create the effect of the canopy for a far better price. Here's what I've decided to do. I'm using an iron rod, and this is a 1/2-inch iron rod. You can get this from any iron worker, and you can have it bent to the shape that you want. I've had this bent, basically I'd call this a C shape. So just to give you an idea, it's going to mount from the ceiling and it's going to hang out like this. The rod overall is 68 inches long from side to side. Now, a queen size bed is 60 inches wide, and my headboard is 64 inches wide. Now, the reason I did my headboard 64 inches wide is so that it has a 2-inch band down either side, and then the rod will be 2 inches wider than that so that nothing feels too cramped. We don't want this fabric really pushing up against the headboard. We want this to have a very soft and billowy effect. that's my rod. And I've installed 3 brackets on the ceiling. I put plugs and then I screwed them into place. I've just used a decorative iron hook that coordinates with the rod and with the finials. I've decided to keep with our sort of leaf motif that's in one of our fabrics, and I've just gone with this nice little leaf finial, which will attach to the end of the rod. As for the panels, I've chosen to go with a sheer fabric. Now, this is just a standard polyester sheer, something that you could use as a drapery fabric, and as you can see, it has sort of a very small window pane check. It's a soft creamy off-white, and it goes well with the trim and the ceiling color, and it's also compatible with all of the bedding. Now, the fabric that I've chosen to use is double width. Now that means it's 120 inches wide instead of the standard 54 or 60 inches wide. So as you can see, I've got a really nice wide piece of fabric, and this way I only need to use 2 panels to do a king-size bed. If you're using regular width fabric, such as 54-inch, you'll want to get 4 panels of fabric. And this is to achieve a double fullness overall. There's a lot of terms in here. Double fullness means that you have twice as much fabric as the length of your rod. Now, if you've got all of that straight, we're gonna have the fabric hang basically from floor to ceiling. I've done a really simple construction here. I've done a 1.5 inch pocket across the top that I will slip over the rod. And I've done a 2 inch hem down here somewhere, a 2 inch hem at the bottom. And this just gives it a little bit of weight. Okay, so there's one side. You can start to see the effect. I'll have to tweak the puckering here when I'm done. Okay, now on to the other one. Okay, so here we go. And set it through here. And just up and on to the center, and then I can just spread the fabric out. I'll need to use the finials just to hold it in place, and I think I'll put it so that the leaf is pointing down. Great, now that that's in place, I'm just gonna give you a little preview. I'm gonna use this cube to just bring the headboard out a bit. I'm actually gonna mount the headboard to the frame of the bed, which is important for stability. But as you can see, now when I set this in place, the canopy just drapes in behind it, and I think this is gonna be a dreamy place to spend the night. Snow globes are undeniably kitschy, but they've been an irresistible collectible for over a century. At the 1878 Paris Exposition, 7 French inventors presented hollow glass paperweights filled with water and white powder. Within a few years, a miniature Eiffel Tower besieged by a fantasy blizzard became the first landmark encased in the tiny dome souvenir. These playful plastic wonders of the world capture popular landmarks and cultural icons with humor and delight. Coming up on Room Service, our bedroom dream becomes reality. Orly's bedroom has become a vision of lilac loveliness, and one that will make many young girls envious. I know that I would have loved a room like this when I was a kid. So here's my chance to pull it all together and create this vision in blue.
My favorite thing in the room is the color, blue and white, but it's kind of purple, but I don't care because I like the color purple.
We've addressed all the different areas that anybody could hope for. We have seating, we have an incredibly beautiful bed, and now we even have a huge work surface. Now, this is a desk unit that I had made for me by a local carpenter, and they made it to our specifications. So let me tell you a little bit about what we've done. For the desk surface, we decided to go as large as we could on this wall. So it's actually 8 feet long. And then we've put bookshelves on either side. These are 2 free-floating bookshelves. So all of this can be taken down at a later stage in time, and the pieces can be used individually or kept as a whole. But the great part about it is that it's movable, which is a big advantage in case she were to go off to school and want to take this with her. In between the shelves, I decided to go with a couple of shallow shelves, really just for use for display purposes. And as you can see, Orly's snow globe collection is beautifully displayed here and has room to move as it grows up onto the top shelf. As for seating, we've had that little bench that you saw before slip covered, and I used up all the fabric that was left over. And one thing I want to point out about this room is it is beautiful, it's lovely, and I realize it's a lot bigger than most kids' rooms, but that doesn't mean that you can't create a very similar look. It's actually incredibly easy. We've gone with a palette of blues, and I chose about 5 different patterns, and then we mixed and matched those throughout the room. So the bench has a small check on the body of the bench, and then it has 2 different shades of piping. We've even used a couple of leftover scraps to make twill pillows that are outlined in a band of our fabric. We've done our checked bed skirt with a contrast fabric in the pleats. We've done our 2 reading pillows, again with a contrast band. It's really just a matter of mixing and matching. It's a single color that's been sort of splashed throughout the whole room to create this really crisp, fresh look.
I really like the bed because it's big and comfy, and I like the canopy.
Can you believe how much better our side table looks now that it's been refinished and repainted? It is so beautiful in the creamy white color that I decided I needed to find a complement for it. So on another shopping trip, I came across a similar feeling in that it's sort of French and pretty, but a completely different style of table. This one has a drawer, whereas the other one has a wider surface to set things down on, like an alarm clock and books. And then I've brought in a pair of lamps, and these are vintage glass lamps, and I've dressed them with, it's almost like a woven raffia shade that I glued silk hyacinth blooms around the bottom. I just couldn't get enough of all those little lilac touches. And really, this room is feminine, it's pretty, but it is not too fussy, so it will allow Orly to grow up and enjoy this room for many, many years to come. I'm Sarah Richardson, and I hope you'll join me next time on Room Service.